Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the lazy genius way.
Ooh, interesting.
Have you heard of this?
I have. I've seen the book around
Okay.
and I'm interested to learn more about it.
Yeah, so we've got a really great YouTube video that summarizes the main points of the book, and it's all about achieving more with less effort, working smarter, not harder.
It's such a fascinating concept, especially in a culture that, often glorifies busyness and equates that with productivity.
Yeah, this method really flips that script.
Hmm.
It's kind of saying, hey, you can actually get more done by doing less, but doing it in a smarter way, not harder.
I like it already.
Yeah, and just imagine feeling less exhausted but accomplishing more. Isn't that
That's the dream.
right? I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
So that's what this method is promising. And one of the first things it tackles is decision fatigue.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
So this decide once principle is kind of the core of how to tackle that. And basically, the book highlights how all those little decisions that we make throughout the day can really drain our energy.
It's so true. Those repetitive choices like what to wear, what to eat, even what to do in the evenings, it can all add up and really feel overwhelming sometimes.
Absolutely, yeah. And the author, Kendra, shares her own experience. She talks about how she used to dread Mondays,
Mondays, yeah.
like many of us, until she started making these small decisions ahead of time,
Okay.
like just choosing her outfit, deciding what she was going to have for breakfast, even planning her Monday evening activity.
It sounds so simple, but I can see how that would make a difference.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is she didn't just plan for work stuff. She incorporated things that she actually enjoyed into her Monday routine. So it wasn't just about, being productive. It was about creating a day that she looked forward to.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's about setting yourself up for success, but also for, enjoyment. And it makes me think, like, what are some areas in your own life that you could maybe apply this decide once approach?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, for me, maybe meal prepping for the week would be a game changer. I always struggle with figuring out what to eat, and it takes up so much time and energy.
Yeah,
So maybe if I just dedicated a couple of hours on Sunday to planning and prepping my meals for the week, it would free up a lot of mental space.
totally. And that would eliminate that decision fatigue throughout the week of like, what am I going to have for lunch or dinner?
It
That's
just,
already decided.
what about you?
Oh, I think for me, it's definitely choosing outfits on Sunday evenings. I waste so much time every morning just standing in my closet trying to figure out what to wear.
Yeah, I feel that.
If I, laid everything out the night before, that would just eliminate one less decision to make in the morning.
Streamlining the mornings. I like it.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about decision fatigue. Now let's move on to another key aspect of this lazy genius method. Routines, but not the rigid military style kind.
Oh, because those can feel really restrictive.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about that at all. The lazy genius way is about using routines to actually increase flexibility and freedom.
Now that I'm intrigued, how do routines do that?
Yeah, so in the book, Kendra explains how routines actually helped her thrive, even during a chaotic childhood, like she went through divorce, remarriage, homeschooling. It was a lot of change and uncertainty.
Wow, yeah. So having those consistent structures in place could actually be really grounding during times of transition and upheaval.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like having those routines kind of became her anchor. And the book gives 3 key tips for building routines that actually work.
Okay.
So the first one is start small. You don't need to overhaul your entire life all at once.
Small steps.
Yeah, just focus on maybe just a morning routine or an evening routine.
That feels much less daunting, right?
Right, exactly. And then the second tip is to find a kickoff activity that motivates you.
Yeah.
So basically, it's something that you genuinely enjoy doing that signals the start of your routine.
Oh, I like that. It's like a little reward built into the routine itself.
Yeah, it's like a way to kind of like jumpstart that routine and get you excited about it. For me, like in the mornings, it's having my cup of coffee.
Oh, yes. Coffee, always a good motivator.
Right. Like, okay, coffee's brewed. Now it's time to start my day.
Yeah.
And then the final tip is to focus on the goal of the routine, not just rigidly following steps. So it's about being adaptable within that framework.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not about being a slave to the routine, but rather using it as a tool to help you achieve what you want to achieve.
Exactly. Okay, so we've tackled decisions and routines. Now let's move on to decluttering. And this is where it gets really interesting because the lazy genius way isn't about minimalism. It's not about getting rid of everything.
Really? Because I feel like decluttering and minimalism often go hand in hand.
Yeah, Yeah, they're often associated with each other, but this is about being intentional with your space and making room for what truly matters to you.
Okay, so it's more about curating your environment to support your passions and priorities rather than just striving for emptiness.
Exactly.
Like that.
Like the video gives an example of books. If you're a book lover, having hundreds of books isn't clutter.
Right.
It's like it's part of your life, it's part of your passion.
It brings you joy.
Exactly. It's about surrounding yourself with things that bring you joy and that are meaningful to you.
Mhm.
And the video provides 6 habits to help you make this more manageable, even if you're not naturally organized.
6 habits. Okay, I'm ready. Lay 'em on me.
Okay, all right. So the first one is the classic, everything has a place. Sounds really basic,
It does, yeah.
but it's really the foundation for creating order.
Right. You need to know where things belong before you can actually put them away.
Exactly. So once you've established that, then you can move on to the second habit, which is new item. Assign it a home immediately. No more, I'll put this here for now, piles that turn into permanent fixtures.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that. The dreaded temporary pile.
We all are. But this is about being proactive and just deciding right away where that new item belonged. And then the third habit is, of course, regular decluttering. But the key here is little and often.
Little and often. Okay.
So it's not about those big, overwhelming once-a-year purges. It's about incorporating small decluttering sessions into your regular routine.
So, like, maybe spending 15 minutes every day tidying up a specific area.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe you dedicate an hour every weekend to decluttering.
Yeah, that makes it much more manageable. I can totally get behind that.
Right. Because who wants to spend their entire weekend decluttering their whole house? Nobody.
No, thank you.
So the fourth tip is kind of going along with that is tackle clutter in stages. Clothes today, books tomorrow, and so on.
Okay, so it's about breaking it down into smaller, more focused tasks.
Exactly, because if you try to do everything at once, it can feel really overwhelming and you're more likely to give up.
Makes sense.
Right. But if you just focus on one category at a time, it's much more achievable. And then the fifth habit is implementing a weekly organization routine. So this is about those little maintenance tasks that can prevent those big clutter explosions.
So it's like preventing the clutter from piling up in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe you spend 15 minutes every Sunday evening just doing a quick tidy up of your living space or your workspace,
Yeah.
just to kind of reset for the week ahead.
It's about building those habits into your life so tidying up becomes second nature.
Exactly. And then the sixth and final habit is maybe the most important, which is be mindful of what you keep.
Mm-hmm.
Regularly asking yourself, does this truly serve me?
Ooh, that's a good one. It's about being intentional with the things you choose to surround yourself with.
Yeah, and it's about letting go of things that maybe don't align with your values or the vision you have for your life.
That's so key, right? It's about ensuring that your belongings and your space truly reflect who you are and what you want to create in your life.
Exactly. So those are the 6 habits for decluttering. What do you think?
I love them. They're so practical and actionable, even for someone like me who's not naturally tidy.
Yeah, and I think that's what's great about this method. It's not about being perfect. It's about finding what works for you and creating systems that make your life easier and more enjoyable.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. Okay, so we've covered decisions, we've covered routines, we've covered decluttering. What's next in our lazy genius journey?
Well, let's talk about efficiency, specifically the batch it like a boss technique. I'm always looking for ways to be more efficient.
Okay, so the idea here is to group similar tasks together.
Okay.
The video uses this great example of Kendra baking hundreds of cupcakes using assembly line principles.
Wait, baking cupcakes. That's a pretty genius way to illustrate this concept.
Right, and it just shows that these productivity principles can apply to pretty much any area of life. So it makes you realize, how much we could benefit from batching. Laundry, cleaning, even work tasks.
Absolutely. I mean, it just makes sense to tackle similar tasks together. It streamlines the process and saves time.
Exactly, and it minimizes those mental shifts that we have to make when we're constantly switching between different types of tasks.
Right. Like if you're constantly bouncing between checking emails, making phone calls, and writing reports, it takes a lot more mental energy than if you just focus on one type of task at a time.
Totally. Okay, so we've talked about batching. And here's something I really appreciate about the lazy genius method.
Hmm.
It's not just about productivity, it's also about well-being.
I was just thinking that. It seems to take a very holistic approach.
Yeah, it really does. And it emphasizes that constantly striving for future potential can sometimes make us unhappy in the present.
That's so true. We're always chasing this idealized version of ourselves, but we forget to appreciate who we are right now.
Yeah, and the video actually talks about a really powerful moment where Kendra is seeking reassurance from her husband after having, a disagreement with her daughter.
Oh, wow.
And she realizes in that moment that only she can truly make herself feel better.
That's such a powerful realization, right? Like, ultimately, our own well-being is our responsibility.
Yeah, yeah. And the video offers these 3 actionable habits to cultivate self-love.
Okay, I'm all for self-love. What are they?
So the first one is to appreciate who you are today, like embrace your present self, flaws and all.
That's so important, right? Like, we're all works in progress, and there's beauty in that.
Absolutely. And then the second one is to embrace your potential.
Yeah.
Acknowledge that change and growth are part of life's journey.
It's not about being perfect. It's about the journey of becoming.
Yeah. And it's about viewing your potential as a source of excitement, not
Yeah.
pressure. And then the final habit is to celebrate victories.
Yes. Celebrate those wins.
No matter how small they are, they deserve to be acknowledged.
Absolutely. It's about cultivating gratitude and recognizing our own progress, no matter how incremental it may seem.
Exactly. So, wow, we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about making smart decisions, creating purposeful routines, decluttering our spaces and lives, working efficiently, and now being kind to ourselves.
It's a pretty comprehensive framework for creating a life that feels more balanced and fulfilling.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to this core idea of making life work for you, not the other way around.
And that's what we all want, right? To feel like we're in control of our lives and our time.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, after hearing all of this, is there a particular area of your life where you feel like you'd want to reclaim some of that control?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I'd have to think about that.
it's worth pondering. So many great strategies already. Smart decisions, routines, and decluttering. But there's more to this lazy genius world, right?
Oh, yeah, tons more. It's not just about the actions we take, but how we manage our energy, too.
I like that, managing energy. That resonates. And the video actually brings up a concept called name it to tame it.
Okay, name it to tame it. I'm intrigued. What's that about?
Well, have you ever had one of those tasks or situations, where it just feels too big and overwhelming?
Oh, all the time.
Right, and it's kind of unclear, like, where even to start. So this technique is for exactly that.
Okay, so it's about breaking down those big, scary, overwhelming things into smaller, more manageable steps.
Exactly. Like, they use the example of planning a birthday party. It can feel like this huge, daunting project.
Oh, yeah.
But if you take that big thing and break it down, name the specific tasks within it.
It becomes a to-do list you can actually tackle.
Right. So instead of planned birthday party looming over you, you've got create guest list, choose a theme, order decorations, stuff you can actually do.
It shifts it from this vague anxiety to concrete actions.
Love
Yeah.
that. Right. Much more manageable. So we've tackled naming to tame things. But there's more. This next one's a favorite of mine. Essentialism.
Ooh, essentialism. That sounds
Yeah.
very intentional. I like it.
It is intentional, and it's core to this whole method. It's all about figuring out what really matters to you,
Yeah.
and then letting go of everything else.
It's like decluttering, but for your entire life.
Exactly. Streamlining commitments, activities, even your thoughts, all of it.
Whoa, okay. That sounds powerful, but also kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like, where do you even begin with something that big?
The source starts simple. Ask yourself, what is essential? But here's the hard part. You got to be brutally honest about what's not essential.
That self-honesty is tough.
Oh, it can be, but the reward is huge. When you
Mhm.
free yourself from stuff, you're only doing out of habit or obligation.
You make space for what you actually care about.
Yes. Peace and purpose. That's where it leads. Not scattering your energy, but focusing it. Okay, so we've named things. We're getting essential. What else is in this lazy genius toolbox?
Lay it on me.
Well, this one might resonate the most with folks living in the season.
Living in the season. Okay, that sounds poetic, but what's the practical application?
It's recognizing that life's always changing. And our needs, priorities, they change right along with it. So this is about embracing the change, not fighting it.
So, like, instead of trying to do everything at the same intensity all the time.
Exactly. Let go of that one right way thinking. Tune into what this season of your life demands.
So if it's crazy busy with work deadlines or family stuff, maybe you simplify routines, delegate more. But if it's a calmer season, you've got more space for personal projects, new hobbies.
Right on. Recognizing the ebb and flow. gives you permission to prioritize differently based on what's actually happening.
I love that. So much kinder than trying to be on all the time.
And you get to be more present in each phase, not wishing you were somewhere else, but fully in the NW.
Wow, okay. This deep dive has covered so much already. Smart decisions, routines, decluttering, efficiency, self-kindness, naming, essentialism, now seasons of life. It's holistic for sure.
It is. It all circles back to that same idea, making life work for you, not against you.
A life that fits your values, your energy, your success, not someone else's.
Exactly. But it's one thing to hear about these principles, right? Actually living them out is different.
Oh, for sure. It can feel daunting, like, where do I even start making these changes?
I get it. And the source provides some really solid advice for actually putting these ideas into practice.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's step one on this lazy genius path?
It starts internally. Self-awareness. Time to reflect on your values, priorities, and how you're currently living.
So basically getting clear on what you want your life to look like, how you want it to feel.
Yeah. Defining success and happiness on your terms, not based on what society says they should be.
Love that. It's like taking back control of the narrative of your life.
Right. Defining success for yourself. And once you've got that clarity, then you can pinpoint areas where you want to make changes.
And that's where these lazy genius principles come in, right? Like tools to help you make those changes in a way that actually sticks.
Precisely. It's not about overhauling everything at once, but picking one or two areas to focus on, trying out techniques.
Experimentation. I like that. Finding what works for you, adapting it to your life, not trying to fit into some one-size-fits-all mold.
Exactly. It's about progress, not perfection. And as you learn, as life changes, you refine your approach. It's a journey, not a destination.
Okay, so self-awareness, experimentation. What else is key to putting these principles into practice?
Patience, for sure. Be patient with yourself. Change takes time and effort.
It's so easy to get discouraged if we don't see instant results.
Right. But lasting change rarely happens overnight. It's the small, consistent steps that add up.
And being kind to ourselves when we inevitably mess up or hit a roadblock. We're human after all.
Absolutely. Mistakes are part of it. They're opportunities to learn and adjust, not reasons to beat ourselves up.
And speaking of learning, I noticed the video emphasizes seeking support and inspiration from others.
Yes, that's huge. Whether it's books, podcasts, online communities, or your real-life people, having that support network makes a world of difference.
It's like having cheerleaders when you're feeling motivated and a shoulder to lean on when you're not.
Exactly. People who get it, who can celebrate your wins and offer encouragement when you're feeling stuck. And sometimes just knowing others face similar challenges can make you feel less alone.
Okay, so self-awareness, experimentation, patience, kindness, and support. Anything else we absolutely need to know about bringing these lazy genius ideas to life?
One last thing I think is crucial, and it's easy to forget. Celebrate your wins, no matter how
And
tiny.
so easy to focus on what we haven't done yet, right?
Yeah,
But those little victories deserve recognition.
totally. It's about being grateful for the positive changes, even if they seem small. That helps build momentum, keep you going.
And it reminds you that you are capable of change, that you're making progress towards the life you want.
Exactly. Shifting from self-criticism to self-celebration, because you're already doing great things, even as you strive for more.
Okay, wow. So much covered already in this deep dive. From decisions and routines to decluttering and self-care to essentialism, seasons of life, and even how to actually make it all work. This lazy genius approach is incredible.
It really makes you rethink what productivity and success can look like, right?
Totally. It's not about fitting into a mold, but creating something that works for you. But before we wrap up this part of the deep dive, I want to go back to that question you asked earlier. What area of your life feels like it needs reclaiming?
It's a good one to sit with, isn't it? Where do you feel the most friction, the overwhelm, the sense that things aren't quite aligned with who you are and what you want?
That's powerful. So much good stuff already. But how do we actually use these principles to make those changes? What are some concrete, lazy genius solutions for those areas we want to reclaim?
Well, one that might surprise you is this. Rest is productive.
Wait, seriously, in a system about getting things done, they want us to rest more.
I know, right? It seems counterintuitive, but the source makes a strong case for it. In our always-on culture, we see rest as the opposite of productive.
Like it's lazy or a waste of time.
Exactly. But they argue it's actually essential for productivity. Like, think of it this way. You can't run a car without ever stopping for gas, right?
Eventually, you're going to be stranded on the side of the road.
Exactly. And our brains and bodies, they're the same way. We need to refuel, recharge, or we burn out.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do we actually make rest a priority when it feels like there's never enough time?
Well, the source suggests we schedule it, just like we would any other important appointment.
I've heard that before, but it always feels so weird to put relax in my calendar.
I know, right? It feels counterintuitive. But if we don't, it's so easy for rest to get squeezed out by everything else. We end up trying to rest while mentally running through our to-do list.
Which totally defeats the purpose.
Exactly. But when you carve out dedicated time for rest and truly disconnect, it's amazing how much it recharges you, and that renewed energy then fuels your productivity when you get back to work.
So it's not just about doing less, but about being more intentional with how we use our energy, both for work and rest.
Okay, I'm convinced. Rest is officially on the Lazy Genius to-do list. Now, the video also talks about these magic questions as tools for decision-making. How do those fit in?
Oh yeah, magic questions are great. They're like little prompts to help you cut through the mental clutter and get to the heart of what really matters when you're making a decision.
Okay, so what are some examples of these magic questions?
One of them is, what can I do now to make this easier later?
Oh, I like that. It's all about being proactive.
Right. Thinking ahead so you can avoid future stress and overwhelm.
Like prepping ingredients the night before for dinner, or laying out your workout clothes in the morning so you're more likely to exercise. Simple things that save you time and energy later on.
Exactly. Another magic question is, what would make this more fun? Okay, I am here for that one. It's like a reminder to inject some joy and playfulness into even the things we have to do.
Right. Life doesn't have to be all serious business all the time. We can find ways to make things more enjoyable, even if it seems silly. And that shift in perspective can really boost your motivation and make those tasks feel less daunting.
So instead of just slogging through laundry, I could put on some music and have a little dance party while I fold.
Exactly. Or turn cleaning the bathroom into a mini spa experience with some candles and essential oils.
Love it. Okay, we've got rest, we've got magic questions.
Yeah.
What else is crucial in the lazy genius approach?
This one's big. Community.
Community, yes. We're not meant to do this whole life thing alone.
Exactly. Having a supportive network, whether it's family, friends, neighbors, online groups, whoever it is for you, can make a world of difference.
It's having those people to celebrate wins with, to offer encouragement when you're down, and to just listen without judgment when you need to vent.
And sometimes just knowing that other people are going through similar struggles or have been there before can make you feel less alone.
Okay, so smart decisions, routines, decluttering, self-care, community, rest. It's amazing how all of these pieces fit together to create a more fulfilling, sustainable life.
Right. It's all connected. It's about being intentional with your time and energy so you can show up fully for the things that matter most.
Well said. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to share a quote that really stuck with me from the video. You are capable of more than you think, with less effort than you expect.
That's a powerful reminder, isn't it? It's about trusting ourselves and letting go of that perfectionist tendency to overwork and overthink everything.
Exactly. We don't have to burn ourselves out to live a fulfilling life. It's about finding that sweet spot where we can achieve our goals and feel good doing it.
Absolutely. The lazy genius way is about working smarter, not harder, and creating a life that feels aligned with who you truly are.
To everyone listening, we encourage you to embrace your inner lazy genius. Remember, you have the power to design a life that reflects your values, honors your energy, and allows you to focus on what truly matters. And if you're ready to dive even deeper, check out the full book. It's full of practical tips and inspiring stories that can help you make these principles a reality in your own life.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope it's been insightful and maybe even a little bit life-changing. Remember, the journey to a more fulfilling life is ongoing. Be kind to yourself, celebrate those small wins, and keep experimenting with what works for you.
And until next time, keep on being geniuses, even if it's the lazy kind.